Save me in 30 minutes. Emergency
Get me
call.
off of camera.
Call in snowstorm. But yeah, we're here with Matt Shelly, DP. Are you director as well? Or more
I do direct, yeah.
Direct DP, and you also work Southern Charm and owner, operator at Pixel Studios with your wife.
Yep, technical director, I like to call myself.
Technical director.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good term.
Yeah, that way my wife, Shannon, who's my partner also, she can handle the other side that's not technical.
The fun stuff.
The business side,
Yeah.
which is...
I met her the other day.
Yeah, she's always there. Well, not always there, but she's there a lot of times.
I was there shooting a Christmas family thing. It was pretty dope.
Yeah.
She's real cool.
Yeah.
Laid back, just as mellow as you.
Yep, exactly.
It's dope.
Yeah, she keeps it at the studio, keeps it cool there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of wanted you to come on, man. You're kind of running one of the bigger studios here locally, which is really cool. I know you guys just took that over about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And then also, which we can talk about that in a minute, but also you're a working DP. I would say like myself, but you're a little bit more established. Just
different shows, different things.
Shows.
You know what I mean?
But I love your work, and I wanted you to kind of like talk about how you became a DP. How did you get down this film role? Like,
yeah. Well, a lot of it started, I went to Trident years ago in 2000. But before that, I went to College of Charleston, and I played soccer there. I went and was my goal was to play soccer and go to College of Charleston and be a marine biologist, and that was my goal.
oh,
Are you from here?
I'm from South Carolina originally.
Okay.
Yeah, from Miami and then South Carolina, Lexington, just outside.
Who was
of
running?
Columbia.
Were you went to the film program at Trident?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Russ
cool.
was running it at the time. I don't know his last name.
I
but
went for photography, so
yeah, I did all the classes. You know what I mean? But just like anything, I like I said, I was at College of Charleston. I tried to play soccer. That was my goal. But then I just you have to go to school apparently when you go to college and play sports. I did not go to school really.
Right.
I was really good at one thing, but not the other thing.
Understandable.
So I failed out completely of College of Charleston. And then I was I didn't do anything for a little bit, and then went to Trident and then worked there and went there. And I love that school. I mean, you went there, or you?
No,
I
I
did.
didn't.
You did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I meet so many people that have
their
went to
film
Trident.
program here is amazing too.
It was
I think they
perfect.
might have probably the best film program in South Carolina.
Yeah, and I'm talking about 23 years ago. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it was still great then. And there's a huge truck of gear. I mean,
Yes.
you walk in, you're handed cameras. You're here's lights. I mean, I didn't know anything when I got there. And I just built from that. I mean, just being hands-on, I found that was actually how I learned. And I didn't know that prior, just because I was never in the situation, learning that way, sitting in classrooms and people just talking at you was not my thing.
Dude,
And
Trident almost feels like a job.
Yeah.
Whenever I was going there, it almost felt like night school. You know what I mean? It's like clocking into work because you get so much hands-on experience. It's not your typical sit down, write, take a test. And I think that's what was kind of cool with me.
Yeah,
with it.
but that's exciting because it's once you grab something and you see how it works, and then like I said, for me that was kind of how I learned anything, and that's how I was able to learn, and that was awesome. And I just was really into it and just really moved forward from there, and just with everything, being able to take some cameras home, being able to shoot stuff, and then being able to work, and then still being in school, because they allowed you that leeway to.
So I didn't go to
work.
Trident, but how I started with anything camera related was with some of the students. So I kind of got a couple of the students that were in school for either photography or film, and pretty much built my team off of that first. And I didn't know what I wasn't in school.
Yeah.
But yeah, the utilization of all the materials and resources that they had was it's motivating. It makes you want to,
Yeah. It's
go,
all there for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
Matt's a film degree. He's a graduate of Trident.
Yeah, bud. Yeah, I never graduated from Trident. So to keep on the non-graduating track, only because they allow you to work. And so, the whole goal obviously is to
Get a job,
learn and
career.
then get a job and work in the industry. So at that time, I was at Trident, and Marty Bloomfield, who ran High Output.
Okay.
Marty, that runs High Output, he went to the school and was like, hey, does anyone looking for a job at our shop, And I'm just like, yeah, I will. You know what I mean? Like, didn't even let anybody else raise. Because it's like, for me, any opportunity that comes up, just grab it.
Yeah.
Just go. Just move forward.
Get in the door.
Yeah. Just move forward, right? Like, I mean, that's the only way to do it. Like, you see it, go. Yes, I'll do it.
Figure it out.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, figure it out when you get there. So I worked for Marty for a while, just like cataloging lights, running cables, like calling churches to see if they needed bulb replacements for their Lecos. You know what I mean? Like the most like random thing like that you could do, but just for a couple months, whatever the case was. And then he ended up getting me a job he ended up getting me an interview with the line producer of The Notebook. And so,
I remember you telling me.
So I ended up chatting with this gentleman, Butch Kaplan, who did become my boss, and I ended up working for him. And then myself and another woman became the first like 2 PAs on The Notebook.
That's cool.
So it was like Butch, and then it was us two. And so we built like the production office up. We like got everything. Like, we had no idea. It's just like, okay, what do you need? What are we doing? What do you want? And just get it done. From day one to the very last day when we walked out of the building, like carrying boxes of stuff. We worked the entire production.
Did they shoot a lot of that here?
All of it, yeah.
All of it
Most of it, and then they went, I think, to Toronto.
Okay.
And did some of the like winter scenes. Or
I know they shot some at
Cypress.
Yeah, where we filmed our short film at.
Oh yeah, the boat scene with the swans.
Yeah, we actually shot a faith-based film about Alzheimer's, a short, and recreated. Like, we didn't recreate their scene with the swans, but we had the boat scene and stuff with the family as that moment. For me, that was a little surreal. You know what I mean? Like, to shoot in the same place is something that's so iconic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I shot back, just a sidestep really quick. I shot back at Cypress Gardens to shoot something there also, and it was for, of course, like Southern Hospitality, a reality show, and they're just like yelling and like bitching and like whatever the case is, like at Cypress Gardens, and all I think about, I was like, oh well, we shot this like very beautiful scene over here,
and then it's just drama,
swans, and then it's like drama over here, and I was like, oh, okay, good stuff,
right? How it all contrasts.
Yeah, exactly.
How is life on set of Southern Hospitality? Because you see the show and it's like, I saw your wife post a picture. You made the show the other day. It looked like someone was getting thrown into a pool or something.
Yeah, that's Southern Charm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 2 shows. So we have Southern Charm that's been here. It's on season 10.
Oh wow.
And I started on season 5.
Is it as hectic as it looks, or is it?
It can be. It definitely can be. I mean, it's long days. I mean, it's 12-hour days every day. We normally run 2 to 3 scenes a day, depending. Usually like a scene before lunch and a scene after is kind of the ideal thing that we do. But it can be, but it's not always. I mean, a lot of it, we can try to control our environments and like be able to get there and like know where we're at and what we have going on. And so we can like slide in and like cover what we need to, or throw some lights up in the ceiling, because everything has to be 360, so we have to kind of light it appropriately.
Do you guys run like a so with the reality stuff that we were working on previously, it was very small crew. Do you guys run like a traditional gaffer, key grip? Like, are y'all fully staffed, or is it like a smaller condensed?
Yeah, it's like, it would be we have each crew would have a producer, DP or lead op, a B camera, an AC, and a PA. And then maybe we get another PA. Yeah,
that's exactly how we ran it.
Yep. And like I always try to get a secondary PA that's like you were saying, second
crew PA,
like a crew PA. That way, like,
it's more
production,
like a data transfer to like
your. And then there is like there is like a like an AP that like they'll take notes and kind of like organize the shots and everything like that. So if we do B-roll or whatever, we can let them know, and then they'll type it down, so that way then the editors in post know what we did.
My first experience with that was kind of mind-blowing, like, because I've been on big indie sets, and then I've been on big commercial sets, and I'm used to being short staff on commercials, but at least you have a gaffer, key grip, you have your even a dolly grip a lot of times on commercials, and then to go on set like that, and you get up there and it was like sound, DP, first AC, and me. Yeah. Just my title was PA at the time, but I promise you, we were doing lens swaps and everything.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if you show, if any production assistant shows me any interest in camera,
They're getting put in. You
yeah,
just
I'm like,
volunteer.
oh, give me your hand. Give me your hand. You're coming with me.
When you're done here,
Come.
groundwater.
Here's a lens
too.
tissue. Here's a lens tissue. Come on, join our team.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
exactly. So, but that all comes back from like going back, like after doing the Notebook, my boss, Butch, he didn't give me a rap gift. All he did was like say, I'm going to get you a job interview when you're ready. And, for me, I was like, oh man, I'm like, these guys are getting cool stuff,
No,
but I'm like, no,
got the
but
best gift.
in the end, it was the best thing that could happen because I was going to move to New York. So I moved to New York right after that. And he got me an interview with somebody that he knew that he had worked with. And I, of course, like walked in, good Southern boy, full suit.
Of course.
Full suit.
Was it like a teal,
Yeah, of
like a
course.
light blue?
No,
Oh.
it was like a suit that my mom like made me get the 2 for like $59 at like JOS Bank or whatever that like suit place is. You know what I mean? Like, so I got like one of these suits on. I immediately walk in the door. I'm like, damn. I'm like, that was a wrong move with the suit.
Overdressed.
I'm like way overdressed. Super, super overdressed. Anyway, interview, and it was for an AMC reality show, like back in like 2003. And I talked to them, and I went in straight. I was like, I'm a camera assistant. Like, never said anything else about, like, I was like, these are the skills. I was like, but the bottom line is, I work for this guy. He vouches for me, so I don't know. You take a chance, right? But so they did in the end, and then I just like worked from there. But working on those smaller sets, and I've always done unscripted. So like going from like the Notebook where I was like around this like huge production, and then going to the smaller ones, I was like, man, I'm in it, right?
Yeah,
'Cause,
reality
like,
TV's fun.
It's super fun.
Yeah,
And you got in when it was hard to get in. Like,
Well, it had just was starting, right? Like it was probably
Jersey
going,
Shore era.
it was probably going for like 5 years, maybe, before I got there. And then I just like dove in. But I mean, I was in it with like all the big shows. I mean, I did Apprentice, Survivor, like any of the big shows that were in New York, I did all of them. And it was just like, just being there and just like being in that group, right time, right place.
The Drew Barrymore show, the guy that was at your studio the other day was on that with us. Golly, now I lost his name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
D-I-T.
I'm not good with
Oh,
names.
Doug?
Doug, was that his name?
I think it was
Doug. That,
Doug,
it was,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we worked that, and a lot of those guys came down from New York, and it was like a family. Like the cam op that was here worked in New York, and I guess that community is really tight up there. They all worked like the Fallon show up there.
Yeah, exactly. When you get in those, and there's like different pockets, like there's the guys that do those shows, like the people who do the reality shows, the stage cooking shows, like the outside of the city, there's like this big, you say it's a big network, but it's really just a tight network of like who's moving from job to job. When you get in it, at least.
Are you into golf or anything?
Not really. I used to play, but then
have you seen
who
like
has
the memes
who has like
of,
4 hours to
the
go
John
walk around?
John Daly, and then you see like Tiger Woods. I feel like your my experience working with other DPs, like your reality TV DPs are just like wing it, like send it, we'll make it work, nothing breaks them.
Yeah.
And then you get on your narrative film sets, and those DPs are like light metering and scared of everything and don't want to move anything. Everything's perfect, but it's a different animal. I think
it's a speed thing, you know. It's like you get into these situations. I mean, like sometimes I don't even see a place. Like I walk into a room, I'm like, okay, there's the chairs, I guess,
where's your
lights over
practicals?
there? Yeah,
What can
I'm
I
like,
build
what
off
are
of?
we doing? Like, where am I going to put the cameras? Like, okay, where am I going to rig the lights up? You know what I mean? Like, and you got to do it in the first 10 minutes that you walk into a space. And then you got to disseminate the information and then also light it yourself.
So you have experience with narrative, like
not really.
feature?
No, I haven't done any features. I've done all unscripted.
So directing wise, is what do you want to get into that? Like,
well, I mean,
would you?
So I directed more unscripted shows because it is a option to do that, and I think it's like the best case scenario for a show if they can have a director with these unscripted shows. So I did a Paramount Plus show in Miami, the most recent one, and it was called Hot Yachts. Don't love the name, but that's what it was.
You directed that?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so that is great because it allows the producers, the executives, to create the show that they want to create with the story that they want to create. And then they can work with me as far as what we want it to look like. And then I'm also able to bring like the broader vision of what I think we can make it look like practically, right? Because a lot of these people, they don't, you know, they've been in the industry and they know, but like they don't know it technically like we know it.
Yeah.
As far as like what's possible and like what's not possible with what budget you have. And you know, that
Yeah, I
kind
of saw that with the producer and director on Bravo. Like the different things is like, even though we were shooting a sizzler for like a reality show, there was still a script, but you know, talking with them and chatting it up is like, it wasn't really a script. It was kind of a guidelines of like, what can we get? What story? Like they already researched all these people. They know the narratives, and then they want to try and get the narratives out of the talent.
Yeah.
Also learned you can't call them actors on reality TV.
Yeah.
Talent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, you're right. There's like, they film all this content that the producers out of state wanted them to grab, and then they cut their own storyline out of it. And it's kind of like a whole different animal. It's like you really rely heavily on your I keep wanting to say line editor, but there's a story editor, or there's something when you do documentaries they call them also
in the post. I mean, there's like a post supervisor and like an executive in post as well, and they're the ones that are like driving that story.
Yeah,
that
I think
everyone's
maybe that's what I'm
like
looking
doing.
for.
Sort of.
I feel like I heard a term of it before, but it's like a word for director, but it's used on documentary style work because you don't really have a director on documentaries on site usually.
Yeah, well, a lot of times on these unscripted shows is like I don't even get the credit to be director like when it's listed, because that credit is like held for, you know, you have to be in a union or what. I don't know what the case is, but they won't give it to you. So you end up being the supervising producer, which is like not really the job, but
that's what I was going to talk to you about too. Is we spoke in person prior about the union, non-union, and you know, Charleston, it's like it's not, there is no union work here, and then you do get these bigger shows that come down, like Gemstones and OBX, and it's like you can't get on those other than a PA. Yeah, without being union.
I find it really hard. I mean, we have spoken about it, and it's like a few shows have come, and you know, South Carolina is supposed to be a right to work state, so like you should have that right to get that job based on your skill set, and like having 20 plus years as a DP camera operator with handheld experience, like reality, like I have that skill. I also save your production so much money by being local, and you're not having to put me up, you're not having to feed me, give me per diem, fly me down, fly me back, you know what I mean? And then you just don't get the calls. I mean, there's a hard separation between scripted and unscripted, and like people who are in scripted could potentially think way less of people who are in unscripted. But like we were saying before, I mean, like it's a different skill set completely. Like, I mean, we do everything on set, you know, and then I would pick the camera up, put it on my shoulder, and shoot for 2.5 hours. So,
and your unscripted DPs and your cam ops there, man, are like you're really fast thinkers. It's cool. There was a guy, his name's I don't want to butcher his last name. First name's Gabe, and I got to work with him a little bit. He's out of Louisiana, and he's done like your not Chicago Fire. What's the fire rescue? It was like the live PD, but for the fire department one.
Yeah.
So he's done a
First
lot.
responders live.
That's
or
it,
something.
I think.
Yeah.
And just to be around him, you know, it's probably one of the more talented DPs I got to be around, and him to just do the fast thinking. And you know, he spent a lot of his life in narrative or in reality, and then does some narrative. But it's cool to watch people like, you can see those guys and guys like you can problem solve with a single light source. Yeah. And then you get on other sets where narrative where they're flying in all this gear, and it's like, man, this is excessive, because I just watched a guy light this whole room the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I love the act of, or getting to work on these sets, the reality TV sets.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's like, obviously it's a personality thing. Like, I love to work and I love to just do stuff and just be busy. So like being in these unscripted sets, we're just doing it all day. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're at lunch now. Like, ooh, that was good. You know what I mean? Or like, and we're fun, because it's like, it's just a fun crew, and you're just like messing around with your friends like all day.
It's always different.
It's always
something
different.
Yeah, I'm an on-set guy versus a post-production guy. Oh. That's me. I like being on set. I don't like going back home and offloading footage. And I think that's what's cool about reality. Is like, here you go, buddy. Dump the cards and move on.
Yeah, exactly. That's even for the AC to deal with. So.
I like commercial work too. I think commercial work's kind of the same way.
Yeah,
I think the big difference between commercial and narrative and reality is you do get some prep, but a lot of time it's very minimal. Like you only get like a week or 2 weeks to pull all this off, and it's usually like 3 to 4 locations in one day, even though you only have time for one. And commercial kind of is that fast-paced medium between the two.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting more into that stuff, and I just haven't really transitioned into it yet.
It's more, I think it's a quicker reward. There's a word I'm missing, but you don't have to send it off and wait a year for a narrative project to get finished. Your commercial's done in a few months, and you get to see it, and it's like an instant gratification shooting something like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
So what has been your favorite project so far?
Oh, favorite show. I mean, it's so different. I always say, like, in an educational, like, where I like learned the most was Real World. And I did a few
Real World.
Yep, I did a few seasons of those. I shot in New York. We shot in New Orleans. I did one in St. Thomas.
It's crazy that the guy who's been working on this is like right here in front of. That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
that's
those
dope.
were great, and those are great because they're single crew, so it's even smaller than what we were talking about earlier. I mean, a producer, camera, audio, AC, and PA, and like that's it. That's your crew. And when we used to shoot Real World, we would shoot for like 4 months and 5 days a week, 2 days off consecutively. So you had a schedule, and like you had this, you were either, and I always ended up working not the overnight. Well, sometimes it was the overnight, but the second to last overnight, which would be like 6 p.m. until like 4 a.m. or something like that. Okay. So like we go out, like we just go with these young kids and we go party, but you're single camera only. Still. Audio with like boom, and you're just there. You're following the story. Like it's a real doc style show. Right. And like you have to learn how to shoot handheld. You have to learn how to shoot single cam, which is super important. So you're like thinking about coverage. You're like thinking about everything you need. You're like, oh my God, I get that exterior as well. Like there's no like gimbals back then. Right. No secondary cameras. Like we had Kino tubes as like lights that like the ACs would handhold with like big battery packs, you know what I mean? And like doing that kind of thing. So it was a lot. And if you didn't get it, you can't go back. Right. At all. Like, so you had to be the one that was there, make sure you're rolling, and you're getting that footage, and then it just moves on, you know? So that show was really great to learn from. I thought like that really helped me become like a really good handheld operator. And I just love filming. I love having it on my shoulder and just like.
Have you always kind of worked off the Sony line?
I mean, I'll work off of whatever's handed in front of me. You know, if there's a job and they're like, we want to use this, I'm like, okay, great.
I was curious about in the early 2000s, kind of what they're running.
We were running PDX, like our PDW 700s, or I think it was the 700s, and then it was like the 900s. I can't remember though, but it was tape. And then it was discs, and then that's what I know.
Showing your age
because I know when one of my first bigger jobs in New York was on Apprentice season 2, and at the time I had gotten the job because Shannon, my partner, now my wife, I met her on that first job I was telling you about on the AMC job. When I walked into that office that day, she was an intern and she was sitting at a desk over there, and so. She didn't see me then, but later she did. And
you made it known.
Yeah, exactly. Made it known. And also, I was a Southern boy in a New York City, and I was like a rarity, you know, in that sense. Yeah. But she ended up getting a job in the transpo department on Apprentice, and I was like, just get me in. I was like already in AC. I was doing a couple other things. I'm like, just get me in on the show. I'm like, I just need to get on, and then I can find my way to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And so she got me on, and I immediately start, you know, just chatting, making rounds.
That's like
you know
that
what I mean?
Overly said cliche thing is like, if one door closes, find a window, kick the door in, find a back door.
Yeah.
It's like
Smallwood
just
said
Michael Smallwood was on here.
Yeah.
And dude, it's true. It's really just like and I know so many people that I've worked with out of Trident that wanted to start off as cam ops or wanted to start off as grips or key grips, and it's like, dude, just go get a PA gig. See how the real world works. You may work one PA gig and be an AC the next one, and just do a good job at that. And Yeah, that's cool. I find it very interesting that you've not survived, but thrived as non-union because of it's beaten into us. And even a non-union state and even a lot of people I still talk to today is you need to go local 600 if you want to get on these jobs. You want to go, if you don't want to do commercial work, you need to do local 600 so you can get on like HBO when they come here and Rough House and all these guys. And it's like, then I talk to you and I'm like, dude, you've been doing this for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
As non-union, you've worked in New York, Louisiana, correct?
Yeah, I've worked
LA.
everywhere. Yeah, I've worked everywhere.
It's insane. I think
you're essentially self-taught too.
Yeah, I mean, no, not true because I
went to college.
But but not to like learn. I mean, I went to Trident and I learned the baseline, right? Like of what is this, what is that, what is this, here and there. But in the Apprentice, what I was saying there is when I got into that and I was a driver, so I was like in a van, just kind of a utility, because on that show there was like 12 crews, like vans. I mean, it was a massive production. That's why I was like, let me just get in there.
Was it because of who it was with?
It was just the way the show was laid out. Mark Burnett loved to do like big shows, and it was just, and structurally, it was just the way it needed to be. We covered all day, like a very long period of time. In those early years that we were like shooting that show. So there was just a lot of crews. But I made the rounds, I chatted. And then in the end, the DP's AC fucked up. He walks into Trump Tower smoking cigarettes after going out all night. Going out all night.
It's like your typical
we had a 4:30. We had a 4:30 call, 4:30 a.m. call. He's like in the tower smoking cigarettes, yelling at security. Security like kicks him out.
This is the AC?
The AC for the DP, Jim Harrington, who was the DP. So like basically he was out. So like and it happened that Jim was best buds with the transpo coordinator. And so the transpo coordinator, who I was obviously talking his ear off about where I wanted to be, was like, well, I got a guy. So he's like, you're going to drive him today and then you're going to AC for him and we'll see where it goes. And I'm like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? Right? So killed it. We went out to a golf course, drove around all day with Trump and like did everything. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
But from there, the point is that I worked for him for years, like 4 years, you know what I mean? 4 or 5 years. And I told myself at the time, I was like, I want to be operating at this age, not I want to be operating on the next show. Yeah. Like I want to learn everything and then go do the job. Yeah, that I want to do, right?
AC, because with another AC, and it kind of humbled me a little bit because I have been doing this a long time, but I worked with this AC, and he was telling me he was trying to get to a Steadicam level, and he's been ACing for like 5-6 years, and he's like he invested in his own Steadicam, and I'm not talking like a cheap kit. I'm talking like a $70,000-$80,000 can fly 75 pounds rig, and he's went up Pennsylvania, took these classes, and he's been training for 2 years, had a hernia from just flying away. He's a littler guy. Yeah. And, man, I'm just like, wait. He's like, you're doing all this just to try and get a job. I mean, he's investing in himself and his time and his money, and he's been AC for this long before he can even operate. And it humbles you a little bit. It's easy to say I'm an operator. Guilty, but there's a hierarchy to work your way up to that. And like even with you and I, if I was to come on set, I would also be like, hey, I'm an AC. Let me AC for you. Now, I have a kit. I could probably operate if times comes. But also, you're not going to trust me on $1 million show to come in as B cam or C cam if you're running multiple cams without ever seeing anything. Yeah, 100%. And I think that humbled me a lot working with Tristan, is just seeing just the effort he was making in himself to transition from second. He wasn't even a first. I think he was going straight from second to op. But and even first AC is even more terrifying. Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole other structure.
Dude, that's an art.
Yeah, and like that's probably why I never transitioned to scripted, is because of that, like, that structure in the camera department.
Yeah,
it's like,
all
it
the
seems
markings
daunting. It seems daunting in like the time frame, even though I put in the years of learning before I even like operated like fully on a show, you know what I mean? But also in those years of like learning, the amount of people you meet, the different jobs you do, all continues to build. And like this whole industry is about people. And it's just about like, honestly, it's about who you know and how you are on set, and and what you can do. I mean, your skill does involve, but a lot of it is just like, well, do I want to be around this person for more than my family? Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Because like what are we at? We're around everybody for.
That's what I was just about to get into. Like,
so much.
Who are you? Who's Matt? Like, outside of film, what makes you you? You know?
Who knows? No,
that's for another day.
Yeah, one day we'll get there. No.
Do you have any other hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, I love, and I think when I was in New York, it was awesome being there, and I learned a ton of stuff. But like being in that environment, like grew up. So I was born in Miami. We lived there for years. We moved to South Carolina, and then just being in this environment, I've loved to be outdoors. I love to be on the water, and I've worked on boats and marinas like a lot in my life.
You guys used to have a boat in front of your studio for a while.
Yeah, not my boat.
Did he actually take that? Did he do what he said he was?
I think he's still working on it.
He's still working on it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off topic.
Inspiring though. No,
yeah,
it's very inspiring for real. I mean, what he wanted to do at least.
Yeah. He's still working on it. I hope the best that he can sail away into the sunset.
Right.
But yeah. But yeah, I always love being out on the water and just being outdoors and doing anything I could to like get myself out and to do just like fun things. And a lot of the unscripted world, and I bring it back to it, even though you're asking about like my personal side, but like a lot of the unscripted world was me being like, how can I get somebody to pay me to go somewhere else?
Go do fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's kind of fun. Or I'm like, wait, I'm like, because you look at TV and you're like, well, somebody's there filming that, right? I'm like, these people are in that environment, right? So like Survivor, I was like, that's cool.
I
worked on Survivor.
I look at shows
like why not?
Dope,
you know what I mean? Like if you get into the section, you meet the right people, and then if you are skilled enough that someone's going to be like, yeah, come on, then they're going to hire you. Yeah. So
I always look at shows like that, and I'm always either wow, that's a cool camera gig, or wow, I feel really bad for that camera guy.
Yeah.
Like you see Live PD, and then you see the cut scene to the guy running with the full shoulder rig. And you're
exactly.
Like the old cops.
I did some of that when it came here. I did.
Yeah, Live PD. I think they were running FX9s on their gig.
Yeah, I wasn't Live PD. It was
On Patrol.
On Patrol or
Live,
First Responders or something I did once. But it was a smaller camera because we were like in the cop cars, and there was no way we were getting in those cars with nines.
Right.
Dude, I saw a guy full running, unless they have I think
there might be a secondary camera.
It was
like
Live PD.
Car.
It was before On Patrol. They had a follow SUV.
Yeah,
because I definitely peaked a few when they were running and stuff.
Yeah.
But
they had us like in the car, in the front seat, shooting, very unsafe.
Right.
And
you got like a laptop and your shotgun right here, and you're like cramped up.
Yeah, exactly. I probably can't talk about that show too much, but it was just like it wasn't the best.
So, do your hobbies inspire any of like your creativity in your shooting? Like
I think I'm under the guise of I always want to be creative.
Right.
And if I find myself in the moment of lacking creativity, I just go make something, draw something, make something, do something that like helps me imagine.
That's why I just feel like you should do a feature for one. Like,
yeah, maybe I'm sure I could.
Bro.
You know what I mean? But in just getting to that point, sure. Right. Like it might be in the cards down the road. You know what I mean? But for me, it's like I just like to create. I just like to imagine, and
I think we see some of that in your like backdrop stuff with Pixel. I think that was cool to watch whenever y'all started taking over Pixel Studios, the piano transformation. You were so enthusiastic about that all yellow set. Like seeing that was so cool.
I know. I don't know if anybody else loved it.
You just had an all pink Christmas
set.
Yeah,
we did all pink.
Yeah, so you see a lot of creativity with you and your wife, and that is cool.
Yeah, the studio's been great for creativity in that sense of having that space to just kind of like be. I mean, it's a little playground of stuff to just make, and just have access to it all the time. Right. And, obviously I built up my like camera and lighting gear over the years, so it's all there as well, and able to just grab whatever I think I want.
And you guys kind of have a rental house there too as well.
Yeah, we have shoot rentals as well.
That's
and that
saved us a few times now.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's like a real local sort of like lens and camera rental and lights and everything. Anything you really could need, you could always ask, but it's been really good. I mean, it's primarily, I think, a lot of photographers in Charleston, which we know is a big thing here. There's a lot of weddings and a lot of events, and people just need extra bodies and extra camera bodies and, you know, whatever.
I think it's, we don't really have any rental houses close by. I mean, we have high output, but I feel like they're more power gen kind of.
Yeah, they're on a little bit of a larger scale, and it's not for the small to medium production.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think we kind of cater to that like medium to small. You know, somebody's like, I need to do that corporate gig, but like, you know what? They just told me I got to like the interviewer and shoot the interviewer as well as the subject. Right. And like, a lot of people have that like 1-2 cameras and the light's enough for one.
Yeah.
But if you have to swing it and do a double interview, people don't have it, right? So like that's that smaller scale. Like medium productions, like we can provide that little bit of extra you need. So like they bring one camera in, like we can provide the other package.
Yeah, and your prices are great. I mean,
we try to keep it reasonable.
You guys are cheaper than going online and renting, which is not much you can say in this day and age. Now everything's online's cheaper than in person.
Yeah, always, you know, but like the goal obviously in any business locally is to support your local business.
Yep.
Of course.
Right? I mean, it's like we always try to get stuff from high output, or we always try to buy like, because they have expendables there, you know, so that's a local business. Granted, they are a little bit more corporate and a little bigger, but they still employ people who live in Charleston, right?
Yep.
Like stuff in the studio, we, you know, buy our hand soap from like Wake Refill, and they're a great company that just opened a storefront downtown, and you can bring in your bottles and they get bags, and so you can reuse your stuff.
Oh, that's
right.
cool.
So
Yeah,
like
that's
you
cool.
get your soap and refill it all the time. So you're not like buying plastic waste and like doing these things. So we just try to be as local and as community involved as we can.
We were kind of discussing this with the last guest, is like, you notice the common trend on this podcast with entrepreneurs, whether it's film related or business related, is the community between like mom and pop and is so big. We were joking around saying like, me and 3 of my friends all had 3 different businesses, but we would pass like the same $500 around.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's if you support local and you support these small scale, guess that company's coming back to you for commercial work, or coming back to you on recommendations for this, or somebody drops in and, hey, do you know somebody has a studio we can shoot some products at? Well, guess who they're gonna recommend? And it's not a hey, I help you, you help me. It's just a genuine act of kindness.
100%. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, why push it out anywhere else, you know? And Shannon, she does a lot of the networking, honestly, because I'm often on shows. You know, we do these shows and they're like 3 months long, and you know, we have 2 shows here, so it's, you know, could be 6 months, and then plus, you know, probably 8 weeks on the back end for each show doing interviews. So, you know, that's a lot of time occupied. And so she's able to get out to a lot of these business to business meetings and network and meet other people and just spread the word, and or meet other people, because then she connects. She's like, oh, I met this person here, and this person's like, oh wait, I needed that. You know what I mean? Just exactly what you said, you know, it's like, and pass them along.
Yep.
So it's nice. It's
so good. To change course a little, have you worked a Hallmark film yet?
You know, what I just did was a Hallmark Christmas cruise.
Oh yeah.
Hallmark Christmas cruise. What
Unscripted
is
stuff. So obviously right in my wheelhouse. My buddy Adam Selesky, he DP'd it, and he was my AC for years. So it was great because he was able to hire me to like camera operate on it. I didn't like do anything but just like camera operate, which is fun. Also, not having any other responsibilities.
That's actually probably one of the best jobs on
You know
set.
what I mean?
For
So
anyone
it's like,
wanting to get into film world, camera operators most of the time kind of have it pretty easy if you have a strong back.
yeah, if you have an eye and the skill for it, and it's like, but you're there, you're capturing, you know what I mean? Like, and then let the people who are in charge like tell you what to do, and just have fun.
Yeah.
You know, so we went on this Hallmark Christmas cruise out of Miami, and it was like 5 days or 4 days or something like that. All the Hallmark stars came on this boat, and we basically followed 5 groups of people. And so my crew was 2 cameras, AC, PA, producer, and we, on this cruise ship, we followed our 3 women from Texas, and as they enjoyed the boat, met the stars of Hallmark shows. Like, I'm not that familiar with them, but a lot of people are, and it was amazing. I
watch Hallmark movies every night.
You do?
Like, I'm not even joking.
You could.
I do. It just kind of lives on my TV.
Yeah.
It's easy.
So you want to be on this cruise?
I want to shoot
You
a
want to
Hallmark
work
movie. I
on
want
this
a
show.
PA or AC or cam op. One of these Hallmark or HGTV.
Yeah,
we spoke on that before too.
Yeah.
It's like, I watch these shows like religiously. It's like just silent noise, like it's there, right?
Yeah.
But Hallmark is just like so cheesy. I enjoy it so much.
But what I said leaving that ship, it was like the best experience for a show. Everybody was so happy and so nice, and like they were just, well, here's the thing. We work in a business where like oftentimes we're pretty intrusive. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we have a camera, we have lights, we're like in your face sometimes. Like it could be a lot for some people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're just in a space, and like even though we try to be small, we're not small. You know what I mean? Realistically, we're still like 8 people like in a room with stuff and cameras. And so it's a cruise ship, and then we had like very specific rules. Hallmark was very concerned that we're going to be like too intrusive. In the end, everybody loved us. Like I got people's names. People were like, "Oh, hey, Matt." They're like, "Good to see you." They were like, "Get my good side." You know what I mean? Like they were just loving us being there. So it was a really great environment, and that was a really fun time. And that was my only time really ever working for like a Hallmark thing, but it was super
That's cool.
It was super cool. I'd definitely do it again. Oh, I'll bring you on. Get you on my AC.
I'll PA. I'll fetch water. I don't mind. I'd rather crew PA.
Yeah.
If we get PA.
We did have to share. We did have to share rooms because it's a cruise ship, and any cruise ship I've ever filmed on, we've always had to share rooms. Like I don't know what it is with cruise ships; they will not give you your own room. Yeah, it was funny.
So having that background from like major networks in New York and everything, and then coming back home essentially. To this film region, what do you see that we need, or like what is something that could be what do we need
to grow the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the worst things the state is doing is not doing anything about tax incentives.
Yeah, we can't compete with Georgia.
It's like in the state just wants to just beat us down with not giving these tax incentives to bigger companies to come here. I mean, it like, thankfully the guys from Righteous Gemstones are from Rough House, like live here and have like committed to like doing stuff here. But other shows, I mean, they're gone. You know what I mean? They're not going to film here. And
yeah, and I think same with OBX. I think the only reason OBX is here is because they could not get permits to film on the actual Outer Bank Islands. Like they were like a no-fly
North Carolina.
zone.
Yeah,
exactly. They were absolutely not. You're not bringing that to our area.
Yeah, that's a very tight area, the Outer Banks too. So I can imagine like production there would be pretty difficult to like go about. But getting good in tax incentives here, but like building the crew is like what I've been really trying to do on my side. I'm not in the traditional network of like scripted things where everyone, if anyone ever says something about TV, they immediately go to scripted. Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, no matter what, like, it's just what it is. But there's a whole
nobody thinks of reality here either.
No, but there's a whole mess of people that are making other shows. And, unscripted is also, it's reality, but it's like home renovation. It's a ton. It's like cooking shows.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, it could be gardening. It could be any sort of, it could be 2 mechanics at a shop building cars, unscripted. You know what I mean? So there is a whole mess of content that could be filmed, and building the crew base, which I think Trident is doing a really good job at doing it. But like, are people able to stay here to make money?
Trident. When I walked in your set the other day, I saw Josiah and Ethan Jones. I've worked with Ethan Jones a little bit, and then you said Doug. I was on a set with him previously, and it's cool to see all those same guys because I don't normally work with those guys outside of other projects either. There's a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I try to hire these guys that are coming out, or these people that are coming out of Trident.
Yep.
And try to get them jobs because I do know the skills that they're getting at that school. And I do know that they're competent people and are going to work. And that's like the most important thing on any set is like, are you a worker? Because like,
and are you available?
Yeah. I would say, are you a worker is the most important. Because for me, like, if you're just going to stand around and not be proactive,
pace, that's what.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're not going to be proactive about the job and to be like looking and going over there and be like, okay, he started rolling about 25 minutes ago. Like maybe he's got 20 minutes left on his battery. You know what I mean? Like I need you to be proactive.
Yeah.
And I need you just to be thinking about everything Otherwise, like, what are you doing? You
Yeah.
know, like you're
Be
just on your phone
aware.
or something. You know, it's like
Is it
be
when
in
you're on
the
your phone or
job.
something?
You know, so that would be my first thing. But
yeah, one thing that I say to like new crew is like, you don't have to like do anything crazy or impress me. Just don't make more work for me.
Mhm.
Like, stay on top of stuff. If you see a problem, solve the problem before you bring it to me. Like, just
Exactly.
be, hey, this light went out. Just fix it before you come tell
Yep.
me, and just get it going.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
I know the guys that are like, you know, they might not be in my conversation, but they're listening to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I see them walk away, and then they walk back with the solution that I've already mentioned.
You'll
And
see
it's
some
like,
really good ACs on set like
Yeah,
that too. Like,
exactly.
ACs can jump a problem. Like, you'll hear the DP and director discussing, and I watched an AC do this. Is something I learned from someone else, and they're over there discussing an 85 versus 50, and they're over there trying to figure out focal lengths and what they have in the set, and the AC's already put the sticker on the side with when he prepped the camera out. He's got his 15,
Yep.
24, 85, 135 on the side, and just reminds the DP, hey, you know, I already listed this out. Here's your focal lengths you guys have. And just getting that extra head start on some things is huge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the best employees. It's like basically there you're like, oh, good, you got everything.
You already
but-
figured it out.
Yeah,
Thanks.
exactly. Yeah, it's so good. But I mean, building that crew base, and like that's with Pixel Studios and everything else that I'm trying to do here is like building those networks of crew that are here that can like really do the job, right? Because in this end, we talked about this earlier, is like it is a lot cheaper if a production can come here and hire out
Right.
the
Local,
full
right.
crew.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money that would save them is enormous.
very
That's
true.
the
And I pitch that to line producers in every production that's here because I have to sell it every time that we are as competent as somebody that lives in a different state.
yeah.
Even though we have the same skill set and the same knowledge, could be better also for us. You know what I mean? Like we could be better than those people, but we still have to sell it twice as hard.
You see that a
to do it.
lot too. Not to interrupt, sorry. You see that a lot too about the you said the tax incentives about driving stuff here, but again, it's competence. Like I talk about this a lot. There's like 30 filmmakers that I can name in South Carolina. I can name more filmmakers I've worked with outside of this that's come here
Yeah.
than actual local crew members. And that's the other thing is like, can we even support a big production outside of tax incentives? Like, all right, so say we run a TV show, we need basically 4 crews to run simultaneously. Like, name 4 DPs that can fly, you know, Alexas and, you know, operate the stuff, and 4 ACs that can assist. And it gets, there's so much to it. And I know, I don't know if you're familiar with like South Carolina Film Commission.
A little bit. Yeah.
And I know people that are part of that and have talks with them. And that's one thing they bring up a lot is, you know, unless we all come together, nothing's going to come here. But I think there's got to be a driving force. And I think Trident Tech is that force right now. I think their program is driving everything here and going through them.
But I think it's like creating stuff. I mean, like you're always creating. I mean, like you guys are always like creating, and any of that creation and sharing and promoting just drives like what can be done here, right?
Yeah,
And
that's what I was getting at. Like, do you think is it the perception of where we are, or is it because we don't necessarily get the opportunities to show, you know, that actual creation or capability of creating?
Yeah, I think it's solely an out of network mentality. Because having lived in New York, I've heard the conversations. Oh, we're going to North Carolina to do a thing. Like, we just need to bring everybody in.
Because they
You know
don't
what I mean?
think that
And
they
don't
have
even
anyone.
like give it a chance to, hey, does anyone know anyone?
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like now it is a little easier. There's a lot of, you know, Facebook groups or whatever kind of groups where you can like find somebody or knows or and a
There's
lot more,
actual
and a lot-
list also. I don't know if you
Yeah.
realize there's online
Yeah,
lists.
yeah, there are, but how specific are they for the job
And
that you're
that's
doing?
the thing I
right?
was
Like,
kind of going back to that. I don't want to keep name dropping people. I'm not really I think I might be a member. I just maybe I don't know. But I heard there's a list, but this list of filmmakers in South Carolina has existed for years, and I just got on it maybe a few months ago.
Yeah.
And I've been filming for 13 years.
Yeah.
It's like
same. I'm like 2 years on it. You
yeah,
know what
I didn't
mean?
know
But-
anyone on it. I didn't
Yeah.
know any of the. It's one of those things where it's like the people trying to put this together too also should be outreaching a lot. And
But that's the film commission, and they're not really doing anything. I mean, a lot of those people, from what I know, are on the older side and really haven't transitioned any younger people in. I mean, I know they just had that meeting recently,
Yeah.
and like honestly, they should be courting younger production companies, younger people that are active in this industry to join them and or push out their, push out the state and push out the people who are working.
I think
here.
they need, like I said, I haven't had talks with people really high up in this, but it'd be cool to see them incorporate like you said, target a younger audience. Go attack your social media stuff. Go attack your reels. Make themselves known, because I only knew them as a Facebook group. And then a good friend of mine, she's an actress, she reached out to me and was like, hey, I just talked with so-and-so on this, and she's a member, and she's like, why are you not on this list? And I'm like, I didn't know they had a list. I didn't even know they existed. I thought they were just another Facebook group. Exactly. But I guess they are doing a lot of things for the community, and I know they just had that big meeting downtown. So I guess that's really cool. And I hope this doesn't come across negative towards them in any way.
No, but I mean, I don't think it is, right? It's like, it's just acknowledging the fact that they probably should be doing more with a different subset of people to get it out there.
And I hope this gets them heard even more. Like, I hope our podcast can help share their stuff too and help them grow.
You have to court new people to get in. I mean, if you don't, like, you're going to just be behind everything, right? Like, I mean, you miss an entire generation of people that are here, like, making and doing, and then you're not like pushing it out there to the world, and I mean, hell, to anybody, right?
And I think that's what kind of struck, I'm not gonna say her name, the actress that reached out to me was kind of dumbfounded that she's like, you guys have been doing so many projects for years and years and years, and I'm like, I don't know people exist, and I know there's a really nice upstate film community. Yeah. We had the pleasure of going up to Greenville and Tryon and the film festivals up there for the South Carolina 48, and I got to network with a lot, and a lot of those programs up there really seem driven for up there. And then, you talk to those guys up there and they're like, no, Charleston has all the film work. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, we have 2 shows, and they're like, well, we don't have any shows. I'm like, yeah, but that's not movies and series are not film. That's not the whole world of film. Exactly. Like you were saying, like there's unscripted, so many commercial, like my whole life is commercial for the most part. So there's so much more that we could be chasing instead of just movies and things like that too.
I mean, think about all the platforms that are accessible right now that, like, I mean, you could air something on. I mean, it's kind of wild, right? Like, I mean, there's stuff everywhere for anybody. It just needs to be made, need that money.
Need that money. No, seriously. That's what it really kind of boils down to, seriously.
Yeah. But just getting it out there, I mean, just getting the word out more, just being more proactive with politicians and pushing them harder to push the incentives is huge, and like calling any state senator that's here is like super important. I mean, like Shannon is a huge advocate and like really pushes hard on all causes, but like obviously trying to get film stuff is super important too. And like, they might not know, right? Like, Spencer Wetmore, who is my rep in District 1, she might just not know the intricacies of the film world.
Not to mention, this is a backdoor problem.
Yeah.
Like nobody's looking at this because we all are all talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're people who are trying to get jobs in this state, right? Yeah. And like, if the state wants to keep people employed, all the industry needs to be working. Right. And then this is one part of it. And educating those people on what it is that we do here, what we're doing, you know what I mean, is a small step.
And a lot of people don't know. They just don't have that knowledge.
Exactly.
Or
it's like two people complaining in the lunchroom about how they can't get a raise, but neither one of them went and asked for a raise. Yeah. Like it's that same sense. It's like our whole circle, until you have people like the South Carolina Film Commission and then Shannon and people really knocking on the doors of offices that matter. I think, I don't want to say it'll change because I don't think it's bad. I don't think the film community here is bad. I think there's just so much room for improvement. Yeah. Because there are a lot of creatives and a lot of our work gets outsourced to Savannah and Atlanta and Wilmington and even Louisiana because they're such a huge hub too. So you see a lot of that stuff that could have came here, but we lost out on it because of like a $8 million incentive.
Yep, exactly.
And I think South Carolina is after 375,000.
Yeah. So. But, and I mean, there's obviously much bigger issues too in the whole United States, like film community and like everything that's going on in the past 2 years alone with the strikes and just employment. I mean, I know a lot of people that are in the unscripted world that like last year was just brutal for them. Yeah. I mean, some people worked like a month like all year. You know, I know other people that are leaving the industry completely, starting over because they just don't have, the work isn't there. So like beyond our little bubble of like busting our ass to make Charleston and South Carolina a better place to film, like the country in a whole is in a tough state to film anything. So there's a lot of issues everywhere, but like I still feel you need to start at home and then go broader with it, you know, on that side.
So what's your next step? Like what do you plan on doing later on, or like what are your short term, or what's your bigger picture?
Yeah, so we took over Pixel Studios about a year and a half ago from a gentleman named Leroy. He put some good bones in the studio. We got 4,000 square feet. We got a sound stage on one side and kind of like an open warehouse, like photo studio on the other side. So I think my goal is to really just build that as a real community-driven space. We try to keep our rates like super affordable.
They are
like as low as we can make them to get people that are just starting out to be able to come in and have access, right? Because I think access is a huge, right? Because a lot of it is intimidating. I mean, our whole industry can be very intimidating. Things cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's just like, woof, you know. So we try to provide what we can to get anybody to come in, you know, like anybody that's just like, oh man, I always tell people, I'm like, you and 3 friends split the time and just come in and take photos of each other, and
create,
you know what I mean, and create and do
and
whatever.
I think that,
you know,
I think that's something like newer creatives, and I struggled with early in my career, is not believing you are worth charging that much. Does that make sense? Like as a new videographer, if you're doing a commercial client, like, oh, I'm only charging $500. I can't tack on a 200 to that. And I'm like, when you start getting on that stuff, you believe in yourself and things like that, you realize that it's okay to charge your worth. And I think you guys providing that price and that access allows people who don't really believe they're worth that much to actually still be able to create and work and move forward with their career. Yeah,
exactly. And with the rental business as well, we offer, it's 50% off all rentals like in studio. So like if you have a project, you know, you can come in and you can like budget it differently. So you can like really save a lot, and you can get more out of it by like having more access.
And you guys have like, you know, high-end rental gear. This isn't just like a DSLR cameras. I mean, you guys have everything from FX3s. I saw a whole wall full of lenses and aperture lights, and
we have a lot of lenses, a lot of lights.
I know you mentioned it was like driven for smaller creators, but I mean, your FX3s are B cam and A cams to most projects that probably you run or I could run, and they're more than capable of doing anything.
Big time. Yeah, it's a great line. Yeah, we have FX3s, FX6, FX9. Couple Panasonics as well, which are great. FS7s, yep, exactly. So a lot. You can do so much with any of that stuff. And it's still on the, you know, a lot of it you can do on the novice side as well. I mean, there can be settings that you just have to do minimal work and post, and you can just kind of just get it there where you want it. And I think that's obviously intimidating with a lot of these cameras as well, is just the post process.
Have you ever thought about, like, you know, workshops or class, like, or
we've done a few. I did, the most recent one was I did a basic studio lighting.
I think I do remember.
So that was like, our goal for that was, we come across a lot of, you know, like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of photographers in Charleston. And
that's why I switched majors. I actually majored in photography and switched to engineering.
Yeah.
I switched. I was like, there's no way I'm going to get a job here, and I don't want to shoot weddings.
It's pretty intense. I mean, you go on any of the Facebook groups, like Charleston Photographers, somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for this. There's like 700
I'll do
people
it for
that are like
$150.
Oh my God. I mean,
I'm
it's like,
what?
Yeah. And it's hard to create a real standard rate for anything when everybody is just chopping away.
Then you don't really have, it's not a business with repeat customers.
It's tough.
That's hard. Yeah. That's the hard part. I think with video commercial world, at least your clients are, if you do good, they're going to come back next time. With photography, it's like most of are attacking weddings and portraits. That's seasonal.
Yeah.
Weddings are not seasonal
but maybe like family photos and like stuff like that.
That's so hard.
Maybe if you get it, they'll come back.
And that kind of, it depends. It depends on, you know, your clientele really, like, and who you're shooting for. Because I personally, I get a lot of repeat clients. Like a lot of my work is with people I've been working with, and that's because I've built that rapport with them, that relationship, of course.
Yeah, quality of work. You know?
And and then
and your flexibility of what you're. I mean, you're not just a wedding photographer.
Yeah,
you're doing events.
And
you're
then,
doing portraits. You're doing their businesses, corporates.
Yeah, like exactly. So they'll hire me on to do multiple things for them, and it's not just one specific thing. And then also I'm no better than the next. You feel me? So it's more so of who I am that they're doing business with.
100%. Yeah, exactly. I don't think you can ever like. I mean, I don't ever really just like compare myself to anybody else.
Right.
Like I'm doing what I'm doing, and I know what my skill set is, and I know what I've done, and I know what I can do, and I just.
And I think as our field, what's even small businesses, not even just as entrepreneurs or artists, I think people they come to you for you. Like you are the face of the franchise. I know I said that 100 times on the last interview, but that's a real thing. Like people want to work with you because of your kindness, your egoless, like things that make you easy to work on set, because a lot of sets going to narrative world is a mixing pot of 40 people that's never worked together, hired 3 weeks before a shoot, and they're just thrown in saying, hey, have fun, work it out. Sorry if you all feel like you're the boss.
Exactly.
Like, and,
yeah, exactly.
So you really have to like humble yourself and check your egos and, learn hierarchy on film sets and major things like that, because it'll advance your career. If you come on board as a PA and I'm over here as a PA screaming, I'm a DP, I'm a DP, I'm a DP, dude, they're never gonna hire me again. Yeah, they're gonna be like, dude, go. You're not. You're a PA.
Right.
I'm the DP. I don't need your input on lighting.
Yeah, exactly.
And
throw in a touch of knowledge here, but then back off. You know what I mean? And then just be there.
Sell yourself at lunchtime, not while everyone's running around 45 minutes behind.
Yeah. Or show that you know how to do something. Grab the correct light. Like do whatever if on an unscripted.
And that's
set,
such a big thing to just really sell yourself in a personable way. Don't be. I like to say, just be egoless. Like, be humble enough to accept the role that you're in, get your foot in the door, and then showcase what you can do without overstepping.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you see yourself doing more of the workshops or
yeah? I mean,
more?
the one that we did was really nice. It was an intro to studio lighting. So on the photography side. And it was about strobes and different modifiers. And I mean, I even started the class this is a C-stand. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't know how to utilize a stand or a C-stand, and it's just because they've just never been around it, right? Yeah. Like they might be a photographer that have used a light once or twice, but like they just don't know the proper way to tighten a stand.
I was gonna say that sounds simple until you throw a 600X
exactly
the wrong way.
But even we're just working strobes and we're just trying to like bring it over your head, and like if you have that C-stand run the wrong way, it's just going to loosen on you and it's going to fall, right? Like just the very basics and trying to educate, because what we realize, there's a lot of good photographers here, but there's a lot of photographers that don't necessarily have the studio knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
And granted, we own a studio, so it benefits us to educate people on
then
how
to
to use it.
It's not intimidating.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and obviously, but a lot of them want to learn because it's not always sunny outside. And the weather's not always great, even though there's a large chunk of the time where it is absolutely gorgeous.
Not everyone has the opportunity to go to school like that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also about like educating yourself in your profession about what you're doing, right? Like if you're just like, I'm a photographer and I use window light and natural light and that's it. Like that's fine for a while, but like what you're going to need to move forward.
Yeah. My big thing in college was, I did a lot of portraits and then a lot of product photography. So I did a lot of light table stuff, and that was new to me. So I think so I did 4 years of black and white. So when I transitioned into digital stuff, setting up a light table and stuff I would have never learned how to do that outside of school or outside of studio lighting classes in college. And it's intimidating. Like,
but you could teach me a few things, because like as much as I've done lighting, and lighting is what I love, equally as like camera operating, but very specific lighting. Yeah. Like when we bought the studio, I was able to immerse myself into strobes and studio lighting and like get into that. I already have the ideas and the knowledge of like how light affects your image and where it needs to be. So that's fine, but it's just about then shaping and like, what can I do? How can I add? And then all of a sudden I end up with like 8 lights out at once.
And now you can teach a whole class on shutterless cameras versus electronic shutter, because now if you run slave lights or flash and slave with a shutter camera, you can get a different roll off.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of guys I know that I do weddings. The wedding photographers, I talk with them, and they're all still running like 5Ds. And I'm like, you guys aren't going to go to Sony or the R5s? Like, no, I can't get what I want with my flash.
Seriously,
and it's a big thing, like flash photography versus shutter cameras and electronic shutter cameras is a huge. You could teach a whole class on that.
Yeah, big time. I mean, just as the way technology is sped up and cameras have changed, it's wild. In all aspects, photography, videography. That's what makes it a touch more accessible and makes the people out there doing it probably a lot more around now.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna have to wrap up a little bit, man. I appreciate you
man.
coming on.
Done.
I'm sorry we held you over a little bit.
Told you,
longer.
No
man.
way.
It goes by so
I was
fast,
gonna
right?
keep rolling.
Yeah,
Keep
right?
shooting. Yeah, exactly. No, it's fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I could have sit here and talk cameras all day.
Yeah, no joke.
I think you're the first DP we've had on here, so this is awesome.
Yeah. No, it's super fun. I mean, you guys are doing a cool thing here, and keep it up, man.
Yeah, I hope it grows the community, and hopefully we get some attention.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it's about, right? It's just bringing this community.
Especially bringing people like you on, you know, that it helps because you're
employing others too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. And it's like I tell people this all the time. And going back to like doing these projects and hiring, people are often like, "Well, how can I do this and this?" I'm like, "Well, you hire the person for that, right? Like, you need audio, like hire an audio engineer."
That was a hard thing for me to.
And I'm like,
for years
you
to
have
come.
to just do it. Like, it's so important.
Yeah.
You know what I
Put
mean?
people
Like,
in place who do it.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about trying to tackle it all.
exactly.
Direct.
Exactly.
A little bit.
But then that gets into, and then we're getting into budgets and people wanting to pay, and that's a whole another hour.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Finding producers.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.